Welcome back to Inside City Hall. As we reported earlier, Governor Hochul will deliver her first State of the State address tomorrow from inside the Assembly chamber. But because of the surge in COVID cases, new restrictions are in place for the address, including a much smaller audience than usual. Tomorrow's also the first day of the legislative session. Democrats continue to hold supermajorities in both the state Senate and the Assembly, and there's plenty on the to-do list, including the difficult task of deciding on new political district maps. Here now to talk about that and more is State Senator Michael Gianaris. His district in Queens includes all or part of Astoria, Long Island City, and Woodside, and he is the Deputy Majority Leader of the Senate. Welcome back to the program. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Errol. Let's not leave out Sunnyside, Richmond, Woodhaven.
No, of course, of course. Let me start with the governor's statement that she wants to create term limits for statewide executive offices. Do you support that personally, and should we expect the legislature to approve such a measure?
I would have no problem with it myself. We just came out of an era where we had a governor that was reigning in a very monarchic fashion, and so I think limiting those powers of incumbency every so often is not a horrible idea. I cannot speak for the whole legislature. I know there's a lot of people in both houses who have philosophical issues with term limits. I'm not one of them. I would be fine supporting that. But as for my colleagues, we'll have to take that up when we're back together.
Okay. The related question, I guess, involves redistricting. That is supposed to happen right about now. There's an independent commission that was created. My understanding is in the last few days, they decided to give the issue back to the legislature, where ultimately you always had the authority to redraw the lines. Has that process already begun?
Well, all that's happened so far is we received these commission's proposals yesterday. There were two proposals. They couldn't come to terms on one, and so we received two proposals from them. We're in the process of reviewing it. We want to move expeditiously because the process calls for us to consider what they sent us. If we don't accept it, they need to send us a second version in the next couple of weeks, and we have to wrap this all up by early February so that the lines will be in place for petitioning to begin on March 1. So we have our work cut out for us. It's going to be intense in the next few weeks, but it's just beginning.
In past years, we've seen elected officials basically running campaigns to make sure they got the lines that they wanted, hiring lobbyists, raising money, and putting pressure on legislators. Is all of that going to happen? Is that happening now?
It is not, for the most part. And what's interesting is for the first time we have standards in place that do not allow the lines to be drawn specifically to benefit a particular individual, a particular political party. So we have been trying to keep our distance both from the commission's work to respect them and let them discharge their responsibilities, but also from elected officials so that we can, if it comes to us, look at this as objectively as possible.
Okay, let me ask you about some COVID issues. Does the legislature see a role for itself in the ongoing fight against the pandemic? And I'm thinking about things like tighter supervision or standards for nursing homes, or requiring the governor to stockpile protective equipment and things like that.
Of course, and we've had a role in this from the outset. It involved everything from making sure that our communities were supplied properly to making sure the elections could run smoothly. We passed laws in the last couple of years that allowed people to vote by absentee if they were concerned about contracting COVID as part of the voting process. So we've already done a lot, but we will certainly continue because we're now dealing with a variant that, while seemingly less lethal, I think thanks to the fact that so many people are vaccinated now, is still spreading as fast as ever. And so I think that's going to be a top priority. I know it's a top priority for Governor Hochul, and the legislature will be a partner in that effort.
Okay. We have heard from many sources, including Mayor Adams, that there's a need to make changes to bail reform. The mayor in particular wants to give judges the power to insist on cash bail based on the perceived dangerousness of a defendant. Is the legislature going to take that up in this session?
I think there's a lot of reticence to do so. I'm disappointed that the new mayor, who was a colleague of ours in the Senate years ago, but I'm disappointed that he seems to have bought into the Republican conservative talking points. They've spent millions of dollars to spread these lies about what we did on bail. And in fact, the data that has come out does not back that up at all. There has been spikes in certain crimes. Everybody knows that. That is going on throughout the country over the last couple of years. including states that did not touch their bail laws. And so to lay that at the feet of a reform which by all accounts has allowed tens of thousands of people not to lose their freedom because they didn't have the money to buy their way out, and allow them to have a more stable life, which only benefits all of the community. It would be a stupid thing, I think, to roll back right now just because some conservative Republicans and the law enforcement community are spending a tremendous amount of energy to spread lies about what's happened.
Okay. Let me ask you about election reform. Governor Kathy Hochul recently signed 4 bills into law that are intended to upgrade our systems. 3 of them make it easier for New Yorkers to vote. We're like increasing the number of early voting sites, creating online absentee ballot application, at least a process for it, and introducing a ballot tracker so that voters know whether their vote has been counted. Are there other reforms we should expect you to take up in this session?
Well, there's one you left out that I'm really proud of. It was a bill that I carried, which is going to provide a great benefit to you and your colleagues on election night, Errol. We're now going to require that absentee ballots are counted on election night. And so the unofficial results you get on election night will, for the most part, tell you who won these elections. So you won't have to say goodbye to your viewers at 3 in the morning without them knowing who won an election or not. They can tune in another month later. So I think that's going to give people a lot of additional faith in our democratic process. We did increase the amount of poll sites that will be available for early voting. That was a problem, as we saw, with very lengthy lines the last couple of years for early voting. But we will continue, and I should give credit to our election law chairman, election law committee chairman, Zellner Myrie, who has led a lot of this effort. And I know he's looking at, in terms of next steps, the structure of the boards of elections throughout this state, and whether we can do some work to improve the way they're administered, because that needs looking at as well.
Okay, I can't let you go without frankly, a naked plea for more support for the State University of New York and the City University, the engines that literally lift thousands of families into the middle class every single year, but seem to be starved for resources every year.
Yeah, they have been starved for too many years, and we had a very good budget last year. We took care of a lot of needs, including K-12 education, fulfilling the promises of the CFE lawsuit. But one thing that still remained undone was our education for higher education purposes. And our public institutions, CUNY and SUNY, have been neglected. The Cuomo administration was starving them for years, and I sure hope that that's something we hear about tomorrow from Governor Hochul. It's something the legislature will be proud to support.
Okay, we will let you get to it. I know it's a big day for you tomorrow. Thank you for spending some time with us tonight, Senator Gianaris.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, Errol.
All right, let's take a short